Hello, we're here today to introduce and talk about the history of Savate. So there's been a long tradition of fighting in Europe, dating back to antiquity and the Greek civilization, in particular the Olympic Games, which included pancration, which was a style of fighting that included striking techniques and throwing techniques. The other big influence for Savate was fencing, of course. And Savate evolved as a striking technique using kicks and open hands techniques for centuries. It's difficult to corner the origins of Savate, but we know that late in 17th century it was getting very popular as an art that people use for street fighting primarily and underground fighting. Two styles emerged. One is called Savate, what we commonly know here in the United States as the sport, which is now Boxe Française Savate, and Chausson. The main differences between those two styles were that Savate was using mainly low line kicking using shoes and hand striking techniques. The other style, Chausson, was more using spinning techniques and high level kicking. And what I mean by high is head kicks to the head. They were using shoes as well, but not using hands techniques as much. So at about the beginning of the 19th century, it became more and more popular with opening of gyms. People usually were practicing in the back room of taverns and bars. It was not yet a style that was developed to use as self-defense, but most likely to be used as street fighting. Later, in early 1800s, that's primarily what we saw, and the reason why it developed that way was because dueling with swords was banned by the king. And people found different means to express themselves, and then they fighting spirits. Then the big change became the fact that boxing from England developed overseas, and people realized in France, people realized that the striking techniques were very efficient. And so what it did was that some people were going overseas to see what was happening over there, and they decided to adopt those English boxing striking techniques. And if we look at history, when we look at pictures, we can see that really the style that heavily influenced what Savate was at the time and what boxing was is fencing. Not only from the footwork, but from the guard and from the fact that the backhand was always used for balance behind the body, and the techniques were really striking and became very similar to the strike that were used in fencing at the time. That changed over time, especially with the wear of the gloves. A person named Charles Lecourt in 1822 decided to include and create a program that was called Savate, and became later on Boxe Française, using the hand striking techniques from boxing and the wear of the gloves in the gym and in the training. He opened a gym that became very popular and trained people to fight. He was himself a fighter. The fights got a lot of exposure through the medias at the time, and the only media that were known were newspaper. A lot of writers like Théophile Gautier, Alexandre Dumas, who wrote the Three Musketeers, were young writers at the time and starting to write about Savate and cover fights that were getting more popular, mostly in the big cities. Of course, the most important one is Paris, but Toulouse was a very big place for Savate, so was Marseille. So from the 1820s up until the 1870s, we saw Savate developing, and in the big city, the idea of training became very important for more wealthy clientele and to develop a mean of self-defense to make the life a little easier in the street. And Savate was developed during this time. And when I say Savate, I should really say Boxe Française Savate, what we know now as a sport. So there was three different aspects, three different ranges that they were working with: the striking techniques, the kicking techniques, the stick fighting, and the self-defense with the throwing.